Europe's brightest basketball star is ready to light up the NBA.
Luka Dončić, how many times has he done it?
Take a peek at how Luka Dončić became Wonderboy.
You can tell that when he's on the basketball court, he's happy. I think that's most important. Because with many basketball players, you see that they have talent and then they want to succeed, but they suffer.
From his humble beginnings,
basketball court was his second home, maybe his first.
And leaving his home at 13 to play for Europe's top club.
Tough, but it makes you stronger, makes you self-confident. You can live by your own, then it's easier.
To growing up as a boy among men.
I mean, what can you say about the kid, man? He's 19 and he's playing like he's 27, 28.
And leading by example.
Luka is the guy who will not say I'm the leader, But when you play with him, you just accept him like leader,
Expect the unexpected.
Luka Doncic with the full corner on the buzzer. Are you kidding me?
Luka Doncic becoming Wonderboy. He's still a teenager, but Europe is too small for him already. 6 years ago, the same could be said for his home country, Slovenia. At the age of 13, before shaving for the first time, he took a giant leap of faith. Leaving everything behind, he moved across a continent and went to live among strangers, in another country, with another culture and another language. Destination, Madrid, Spain, home of Europe's most successful basketball club.
Ja, v bistvu mi ni bilo tako prijetno, kakor sem mislil, ampak
it wasn't as nice as I thought it would be. It was really hard for the first few months, but then I got used to it.
Potem, ko je naprej šlo, sem bil v redu.
To ease his homesickness, Luka's mom, Miriam Poterbin, visited him regularly in Spain, ultimately deciding to move to Madrid.
Ko je odšel v Slovenijo, pa je bilo kar zelo težko, Moral zapustiti družino, prijatelje, sošolce.
When he left Slovenia, it was very difficult. Luka had to leave his family, friends and schoolmates behind. He didn't speak a word of Spanish and there aren't many people that speak English in Spain. Initially, he lived at a club residence with many boys from different countries and they helped each other. 4 years later, Luka wanted to have a home again, more familiar food and somebody to drive him to training sessions. That's why I went to live with him and everything became much easier.
Miriam took care of a lot of Luka's obligations, letting him focus solely on basketball. Together with her mother Milena, they were the cornerstones of Luka's upbringing, raising him up to be a well-mannered, affable young man. His dad, Sasha Doncic, a former basketball player, competed in Europe's top league, the Euroleague, as well as for the Slovenian national team. Sasha's experience helped Luka make the right decisions at the beginning of his career. He found some positives in those testing first few weeks after his son moved abroad.
It
was challenging, but in a way it was good that there was no one from Slovenia there who Luka could talk to. It may sound a bit cruel, but I believe that this is the main reason he learned how to speak Spanish fluently in just 3 months.
Luka now speaks 4 languages fluently: Spanish, English, Serbian, and Slovenian. Spain could have easily been Turkey, though. Real Madrid wasn't the first club that came calling. Luka tried out with one of Turkey's biggest clubs, Galatasaray.
I had a tryout in Turkey, but they weren't that much into me. So I went to Madrid.
We had quite a few options, lots of telephone calls. We went to Turkey first to see what they had to offer. After that we went to Madrid and right off the bat we saw a big difference in both youth programs. It was like night and day. Even though Galatasaray offered us a better financial package, we chose to go to Madrid.
After a bumpy first few months in Spain, Luka never looked back. His rise through Real Madrid's youth system was meteoric. People took notice. By the time he made it to the first team, everybody knew who he was. He made his debut against Malaga just a couple of months after his 16th birthday. In the last quarter, he stepped onto the court to a standing ovation. He didn't disappoint. Just a few seconds later, he hit a three-pointer with the first shot of his professional career.
Dončić de tres, Como decía Andrés Montes, todos los jugadores sonríen igual.
Doncic spent the next year getting accustomed to the first team and then had his breakout season as an ever-present part of Real Madrid's side. He was voted best young player in one of Europe's top domestic competitions, the Spanish League, and the rising star of the Euroleague, widely regarded as the second basketball competition in the world. 1 year later, he was the best in Europe.
He takes it all the way. Oh! How about that from Luka Dončić? He is now in the game big time.
The turning point leading to that magical season was, as is often the case, a tough loss. Real Madrid's previous European campaign ended in bitter defeat. The Spanish Giants were the best team in the regular season and made it to the Final Four with flying colors, but lost in the semifinal. Luka's role in the team became more and more prominent as the season went on. He was the league's Player of the Week twice at just 17, but had an awful game in the semis against eventual champions Fenerbahce. He missed all of his shots, 6 in total, and had 3 turnovers to boot. Leaving the court in tears, he wondered what could have been. But later, reflecting on that loss, he said that it was good and bad.
Bad that we lost, but good that I learned so much stuff about the semifinal.
Doncic wanted to make amends the next season. Real Madrid wasn't as dominant. They made it to the playoffs, but finished 5th in the league standings as the team was hindered by a slew of injuries. One of them, to the team's biggest star and main point guard, Sergio Llull, opened the door for Doncic to become the focal point of the team, its main weapon, and at 18, its new leader. He didn't look back and played like a man, or kid, possessed.
Oh, no he didn't! And then Felipe Reyes, no he didn't! He crossed up Victor Claver, and Claver might be hurt. Oh, the young man breaking ankles is Luka Dončić.
One of the highlights of the season, against Real Madrid's fiercest rivals, Barcelona, a game that also featured this.
And Luka Dončić with the full corner on the buzzer. Are you kidding me? The young man, 18 years old, drills it from full court. What is going on? Are you serious? Luka Dončić.
That might have surprised a lot of onlookers, but not his teammates, like Gasper Vidmar from the Slovenian national team. Luka practices shots from deep.
Yeah, a couple of guys were always shooting after practice ended for like a bet, for shooting for a half court. He was pretty good at it.
When another teammate from the national squad, Edo Muric, saw that shot, he recalled a story from the first day he met Luka Dončić. Doncic wasn't even a teenager then, coming onto the court after the senior team of his local club, Olimpia Ljubljana, finished training.
We play a little basket, and at the end of the practice, he didn't want to go out, so he was shooting from half court. We were shooting together, and I remember his first shot. I said, "If you score now, I'll buy you ice cream." I think he was 11, 12 years old, and he really scored this shot. And that time I said, "Oh my God, he's lucky." But now, if I go now, I will never bet again.
Muric still owes Doncic that ice cream. And it wasn't just his Slovenian teammates that were in awe of him. Here's Sweden's Jeffrey Taylor, one of his closest friends at Real Madrid.
Luka picked up everything, He dominated mostly the whole season. He's an incredible player. I mean, what can you say about the kid, man? He's 19 and he's playing like he's 27, 28. And he's only played high-level basketball for like 2 years. He's a kid that comes by every generation,
Anthony Randolph became European champion alongside Doncic with Slovenia and Real Madrid.
He does so many different things well for our team. I mean, he gets open shots for players, he pushes the tempo, he's able to knock down the shot, and he's able to defend, so you can't fully take him out of the game.
Doncic ended the regular season with another impervious performance, racking up 24 points and 9 rebounds against Red Star in Belgrade, and winning the game with yet another buzzer beater.
Luka Dončić, how many times has he done it? 19 years of age.
A poignant display against a club he supported when he was younger. Red Star is the main reason you see a lot of red on his sneakers. But his business in Belgrade was not finished. He came back a few weeks later for the season finale, the Final Four.
He played an unbelievable season for a guy at his age last year. He played even better this year. He keep growing as a player. When we're talking about growing as a player, you talk about shooting better, passing better, defending better. But there is one thing that Luka right now knows. Last year he was at this event like this. Oh, qué bonito. Oh, now he knows what's up. And it's something that you learn with experience. We're talking about experience on a 19-year-old kid. Talks very good about a player.
As his coach, Pablo Lasso, foretold, the occasion didn't get to Luka this time around. In the semi-final, he was his team's leading scorer with 16 points, and in the final, Doncic was once again pivotal. Real Madrid beat defending champions Fenerbahce, securing its 10th European crown, La Decima. Doncic added Final Four MVP honors to his regular season MVP award. Pablo Lasso, during matches so often seen pacing the sidelines and rubbing his forehead in a futile attempt to stay calm, could finally drop his guard and enjoy the moment.
It was a great year because we finally achieved to come here. We have this kid who can play a little bit of basketball.
Lasso and Doncic sharing a moment as Luka, draped in a Slovenian flag, interrupted his coach's on-court interview to give him a bear hug.
I don't have really words right now. It's an amazing feeling, very special for me. It was really, really hard. We need to fight till the end. And I'm so glad to have these teammates, to have these coaches, to have everybody in my team, and I'm really happy.
You're listening to Luka Dončić, becoming Wonderboy. Doncic's success story in Spain opened the gates for others and inspired many to follow in his footsteps. One of them was Yuri Matsura, who moved to Baskonia, an ever-present team in the Euroleague, when he was 15.
First, it's hard, you go there, you don't know anyone, you don't know the language. It's tough because you have to adapt to everything because the whole system is different than in your country. I know for myself it was hard, but then imagine going 2 years earlier too. It's a different thing. Tough, but it makes you stronger, makes you self-confident, makes you self-conscious. You can live by your own, then it's easier.
As Doncic left Real Madrid this summer, Urban Klauser joined the team's youth setup. Doncic even sent the 14-year-old a welcome message.
He sent me a video and he congratulated me and sent me good luck.
Another one of Slovenia's brightest talents is Gregor Glas, who was called up to the national team at 17.
His court vision is just unbelievable, so I try to be like him. I watch his videos, what he does, try to copy something and learn from him.
And it's not just teenage basketball players that look up to him.
Luka Dončić is my idol. When I grow up, I want to become like him. Luka Dončić will kick ass in NBA. I will try my best every day to be like Luka Dončić. Luka Dončić is the best!
When Luka was their age, a long time before he went to Madrid, he was already considered to be a basketball prodigy. It didn't take basketball coaches long to see that there was something special about the kid. At his first club, Olimpia, in his hometown Ljubljana, it took exactly 16 minutes. Here's Luka's first ever coach, Grega Brezovec.
Some autumn one day, his father, Sasha, came with him to the first practice. It was not even a club selection in Olimpia, but it was basketball school, kids 8-9 years old. Luka came and he was like from other planet. And after 16 minutes, I said, okay, Luka, this is not for you. Let's move to another court, to another group of kids in basketball school Olympia. They were 2-3 years older than him, and let's try there, make a practice there. And he finished that practice with this group, and the coach also said, okay, this is not for you. Tomorrow you will come in a club selection with 3 years old kids, and you will practice there.
Luka managed to skip 2 grades in one day and went from a basketball course to the club's youth setup in a matter of minutes. He was tall for a kid his age, but that isn't what made him stand out.
Luka was more physically gifted and skilled than all of his peers, but it was his mental makeup, competitive nature and incredible basketball instinct that impressed most at that age.
As Edo Muric once put it, slightly more bluntly, he might be big and strong, but his biggest muscle is in his head, and that separates him from the rest.
On ima največje mišice v glavi in to je to, kar ima prednost pred vsemi drugimi igralci.
Muric was taken aback by Doncic when he saw him at practice with his brother Dino, even before Doncic hit that half-court shot for ice cream.
I remember one time I came with Dino and he was there with his generation, and I can tell you that he was bigger than everybody, and I was immediately said is this like same age? And Dino was like, yeah, this is son of Sasha Doncic. I said, oh wow. And when he first time he put ball on the floor, I immediately saw that this is something special, his way of moving, his long legs, his movement, you can see that is different.
Luka's ability was unmistakable, but being talented is just part of the puzzle. It doesn't count for anything if you don't put in the hours.
Basketball court was his second home, maybe his first home.
I don't know when he studied at home, when he was doing homework, because he was always on the court, playing and making shots.
Žiga Jurček there. He was Luka's teammate at Olympia. They used to sweep the floor together during breaks at Euroleague games. Grega Brezovec.
He was at the gym all the time, even when their coaches said, okay, Luka, tomorrow is the rest day, take day off. His mother or father called coach and said, Luka is at home, very sad. He's allowed that he came to practice. He's really nervous. He can be at home. So yes, he was at practice all the time. His practice, then practice with other kids, watch maybe senior practice, watch his father practice. So, yeah, practice on practice.
And if he wasn't in the gym, he was playing street ball near his home.
He was here before we came, and he was here till the end, till it was dark, and then probably his mother called him to come home.
That's David Sturm, who frequented the same court as Luka in Savsko Naselje, Ljubljana.
Well, we were playing here at this playground that we're actually here now when we were students, and Luka was just like a little kid, We didn't know who he was. He was just every day he was on the playground in the afternoon when we came by, pounding the ball, shooting 2 points, 3-pointers, and so on. And yeah, we didn't know anything about him. I didn't know he was like Luka Dončić. I just knew about his father because I watched him in the local club, For us, he was, we called him, as, if I can translate it, the little one. We didn't know his name back then.
One time, David and his friend played against Luka and his dad, who had by then finished his playing career. The age difference was pretty big, as was the difference in skill.
Luka was like 12 years old. That was before he went to Real Madrid. He was very good back then. I had to cover him, so he was mine to take care of, but he was just too fast for me, We were actually grown men, students playing all the time outside street ball, but he was too fast and too accurate. But his father was not so accurate, so that's why we had a chance to beat them.
When you play sports with your parents and you can't beat them until a certain age, or in some cases, forever. Well, that was true for Luka too, just that he started playing better than his dad before he became a teen. And his dad was a professional basketball player. David, by the way, didn't just get a chance to win, but actually won.
It was a challenge, but it was just fun for us, And it's great to say that we beat Luka Dončić.
Years before Doncic became part of Dallas's NBA franchise, he got in trouble because he watched the Mavericks. Žiga Jurček remembers a story from Serbia where Olympia's youth team played at a tournament. But because they stayed up all night and weren't quiet enough, they had a lot of running to do the next day.
Whole team were on the same room and wanted to watch one of the final games of Dallas, and we were too loud and our coaches find out. Next day we need to run 100 laps around the car park.
But in the end, it was worth it, because they got to see the Mavericks' best player in his prime.
That time was Nowitzki really good. He was MVP and scored so many points.
And only a few years later, after being punished for watching the German gentle giant, Doncic got to play on the same team as him. When you go through Luka's achievements, and especially when you see him play, it's easy to forget that he's still in his teens. Those who know him well see more of his youthful side.
He was forced to grow up a little bit earlier. For a 19 years old, he's really mature on and off the court, but at the same time, you can still see that he has that kid inside of him. Right. So you can see that he likes to joke, to play with his friends. He plays all these games online, which his teenage guys play, and that's it. He likes to enjoy the life.
That was Team Slovenia's Luka Rupnik, who Doncic grew close to when Rupnik moved to Madrid to play for Fuenlabrada 2 years ago. The most important player in the national team for the past decade, though, has been NBA All-Star Goran Dragic, who says that Luka's maturity is what separates him from his peers.
I mean, that's why he's the best in his age, you know. I mean, not in his age, probably from 18 to 25. You know, he's only 18 years old and he's playing with such a calmness. You know, I'm his roommate, so I know every time. He's don't get me wrong, he's still a kid. He watch cartoons, he watch Friends, but you know, when you put him on the floor, he's unbelievable, and we're lucky to have him.
Luka's playfulness makes him a better player, as former captain of the national team Boštjan Nachbar, who spent 6 seasons in the NBA, describes.
He enjoys basketball. It's a fun thing for him, and I hope he stays like this for a long time. You can tell that when he's on the basketball court, he's happy. I think that's most important. Because with many basketball players, you see that when they step on the basketball court, they have talent and they want to succeed, but they suffer. You know, they don't enjoy it. With Luka, it seems like the bigger the game is, the more he enjoys it, the more he has fun, and that's something that only a few players can have, and something maybe that you were born with. It's not something you can teach.
Captivating basketball is played by players who like to entertain, and Luka Doncic is definitely one of them.
Basketball needs to be fun, you know. You need to enjoy. When you go on the court, you need to enjoy every minute of the games, and that's my key.
Rado Trifunovic was part of Slovenia's coaching staff at Eurobasket 2017 and took over as the head coach of the national team after the championships.
Luka showed to the other players how basketball is supposed to look. Relaxed and enjoy the game. Don't be like work.
Enjoying the game doesn't mean he takes it lightly, though. Doncic is super competitive. He loves winning and hates to lose.
If you have some exercise where you count results, it's perfect. When you don't count results, maybe it's a little bit less perfect.
Yeah, whatever we do, like some games off the court, some jokes, he wants to be first. For example, if you play table tennis, if you play basketball, if you play PlayStation, his desire to win is also always the same, and he's a great competitor, I cannot deny that.
He was always confident on the court and always has this desire to win. But on the other hand, he's still a child, and if something does not work best for him, we can quickly see tears in his eyes, and I think that these things makes him better and better.
Doncic's special skill set also makes him something of a unicorn. At 6 feet 8 inches, he can do things most players that tall can't.
You know, even though he's 2 meters 3, 2 meters 4, he can play as a point guard simply because he handles the ball as well, and he has a great court vision. So I think he transferred that from when he was younger. The feel for the game is something I think that separates him from the best, because he's not necessarily the best shooter, he's not necessarily the best athlete, he's not the quickest, he's not the tallest, but he has a little bit of everything. But where he excels is the feel for the game, and I haven't seen a player at 19 that would be close to what he has now.
This is part of what makes Doncic so popular. He has a knack for the unexpected, doing things that others wouldn't even think of. In Madrid, that made him a fan favorite.
Singing the lines of "We Will Rock You." Luka Doncic,
Doncic.
And with the right pronunciation.
Luka Doncic.
What we like most is he's going to be a bigger star, but now he is very humble.
Doncic has proven time and again that this adoration hasn't gotten to his head. He also shows he cares about those who might be less fortunate. Just a few minutes after achieving one of his major goals, winning gold with Slovenia, he calmly gave away one of his most prized possessions, his sneakers, to charity, as the team's communications manager, Jaka Lenart, explains.
Well, after the final win, I came to Luka and told him about that charity. He immediately took his shoes off and walked back to the changing room barefoot. And he didn't hesitate for a moment. He just said, if it's for charity, of course, I'm into it.
Namigujem na 30,000 in neham. Lep dan vam želim.
Podpisano, hvala lepa.
Adio.
His shoes were auctioned off at a live radio event and were sold for €30,000, roughly $35,000. The proceeds went to young basketball talents that live in poverty, providing them with the opportunity to train and develop their potential. That is the most expensive pair of sneakers ever in Slovenia. A year later, Doncic's Dallas jersey sold for $22,000.
When I see the prices for his jerseys, I want to ask him for one jersey to sell myself. Like I said, he's a good guy, not just good basketball player. He's a good guy, and he will not ever act like a star. He is a normal guy, and that's what makes him so special.
You're listening to Luka Dončić, Becoming Wonderboy. As Luka's spectacular rise to the highest echelons of European basketball was progressing without a hitch, people back home were wondering, what about the Slovenian national team? There had been rumors that he might play for the country of his new home, Spain. Then, just before his 18th birthday, Doncic pledged his allegiance to Slovenia in his exclusive radio interview. This was his first ever full-feature one-on-one, as Real Madrid forbids interviews with their young players until they turn 18. Talking to him that day was Franci Pavšer from Radio Slovenija.
As it was a worldwide exclusive, I was nervous. It was like going on a first date. I had so many questions, not only for Luka, but also for myself. What will this guy, we had to wait a few months to interview, be like? Would he speak Slovenian fluently after living in Spain for more than 4 years? Would he just answer yes and no, like lots of teenage athletes? I couldn't prepare for the interview as I usually do because there were no previous interviews with him I could use as research. He was a blank slate. I guess I was expecting a star, inaccessible, aloof, maybe a bit presumptuous, but I met a shy 17-year-old, a humble, very polite young kid who smiled a lot and was slightly apprehensive.
The main news was that he confirmed that he will play for Slovenia. But the highlight was when he answered a question about his goals. One was getting a driving license. And the other was becoming a double European champion.
Moj san je biti evropski prvak ali svetovni za Slovenijo. In po klubski strani biti prvak Euroleague.
The club side of the equation seemed plausible. Real Madrid is a perennial contender for the Euroleague trophy, but the other, becoming European champion with his country, seemed far-fetched, to say the least. Even if Slovenia has a rich tradition of sporting achievements, as one of the country's greatest athletes, hockey player, double Stanley Cup champion, and captain of the Los Angeles Kings, Anže Kopitar, or as he's known in the U.S., Anže Kopitar, can testify.
We are phenomenons coming from Slovenia, being such a small country, and majority of people don't even know where we are, and so to come from a small country like that, I think it's great. What's most impressive is I think we pretty much covered every single sport that you can possibly cover. I mean, we have great ski jumpers, great skiers, good basketball players, good soccer players. A couple of good hockey players, obviously. So it's very nice to see that everybody is doing well here and getting recognized in the world.
Among team sports, basketball arguably edges out the rest in terms of the number of great Slovenian players. 10 have played in the NBA. The greatest Slovenian of all time, Ivo Daneu, is in the World Basketball Hall of Fame. Slovenians are proud of their basketball players, and after gaining independence, they expected to medal at a major championship. At every Eurobasket, people thought, this is our year, this time it's finally going to happen. But for a quarter of a century and 15 attempts, it didn't. Even when Slovenia had the most NBA players among all teams, the team experienced plenty of tough defeats. Even when a win seemed inevitable, it became a trauma, a national complex. And then a kid comes along and says he wants to win gold, unperturbed by the past, with the kind of mentality that makes others follow.
I'll tell you like this, Luka is the guy who will not say I'm the leader, but when you play with him, you just accept him like leader,
Edo Muric played for Slovenia at Eurobasket 2017. All of a sudden, the team had two powerful weapons, Doncic and Goran Dragic.
We miss guy like Luka. Goran Dragic was one step bigger player like we were. So every team we faced, they really prepare on him. So he was really tough to play because when you say Slovenia, everybody say, oh, Goran. We didn't have second guy who we know that if you give him a ball that he will create something. And Luka is his second guy.
Despite being one of the team's main assets, when preparation started, Doncic was still a rookie and had to do what rookies do.
As the youngest and the newcomer, he always had to pick up all the balls after we finish practice and have the equipment management to clean the stuff up.
That's Gašper Vidmar again, at 6 feet 11 inches, Slovenia's best center. But when he came up against the young gun, his size didn't stop Luka from being Luka.
Yeah, that's true. He actually blocked my first dunk attempt.
Doncic made his mark, picking on somebody that wasn't his own size and swatting the ball away. This is how Jaka Lenart saw the block.
And on the first practice, he took the ball, he made some shots, okay. And then at the first 5-on-5 action, there was a screen for Gašper Vidmar. He came from the screen and wants to dunk the ball, and Luka came and blocked him. And all the gym just silent. And Gašper said, what? Nobody expected that.
Doncic didn't waste the opportunity to tell Vidmar who's the boss of that rim.
Yeah, of course, he was joking with me that I cannot go through him, but I proved him wrong the next time. After the second practice or third, I got him back.
Another important touch in building team chemistry was pairing Doncic and Dragic together. They were roommates during Slovenia's epic rise to European gold. Rado Trifunovic.
That was our plan, our staff plan, that we put Luka Dončić with Goran Dragic together because we want from Goran Dragic to give him some information for the future and everything, that he can grow with the national team. And they were great teammates. Not just teammates, they were great roommates.
Ironically, some bad luck attributed to that actually happening. Goran Dragic's usual roommate was his brother Zoran, but he got injured and couldn't play for the team, thus freeing up his spot for Doncic. Dragic took Doncic under his wing and became his mentor.
We are so happy to have him here because he can do everything, not just scoring. He can do us play like a team. He's the captain, he's the leader, and we can teach. Everybody can teach, can learn so much stuff about him.
Luka had great example in him, how to be a leader and how to lead the team.
That's Rašo Nesterović, who won a ring with the San Antonio Spurs in his 11-year NBA career. He's now Secretary General of the Slovenian Basketball Association, the de facto GM of the national team, and also Luka's godfather. Nesterović was describing what Dragic taught Doncic. But the teaching process went both ways.
Sometimes teachers, they get taught by the students, so why not? And that also means how big is Goran Dragic, how big person he is, because he's really open and he took something from the young kid.
Like Doncic, Dragic had a playful style when he was younger. He enjoyed his basketball and it showed. But as Goran grew older, his long career had taken its toll. Everything became more routine. Every year there was more pressure. Now he had a family with 2 children. and instead of resting each off-season, Dragic spent most with the national team, preparing for and then playing in another major championship. But at the last Eurobasket, you could see a twinkle in his eye again. Not exhaustion and fatigue as before. It seemed that Luka woke up the child in him again and put a smile on his face.
When I see Donka smiling, I smile, and everybody else does too. I think that this is the key to victory.
He put competitiveness and no stress game. All players grow with this energy, and that we become very good national team.
With Dragic and Doncic in the team, expectations were reaching fever pitch before the championships even started. People wanted to see them before they left for what was Luka's first Eurobasket and most likely Goran's last. And they had the chance in what might have been the only game in which both played together for Slovenia at home. The national team's preparation match in Ljubljana against arch-rivals Croatia was sold out. For a friendly. Nearly 13,000 came to watch. 1 year later, for another friendly against Croatia, but without Doncic and Dragic, only 2,000 turned up. At Eurobasket 2017, Slovenia ended the group stage undefeated and flew past Ukraine in the first knockout round. Then came the first massive hurdle, a crunch match, quarterfinal against Latvia and their NBA All-Star Kristaps Porzingis. Doncic led the team to victory with 27 points and 9 rebounds.
Doncic puts up a long one. Oh! And he looks up at the crowd with a huge smile.
Slovenia was coached by Igor Kokoško, who later became the NBA's first head coach born in Europe when he took over the Phoenix Suns.
He's unbelievable talent. He's a diamond for European basketball. We're happy for him, happy that he's getting better and the sky is the limit. It's a process and he's a part of the process. This tournament is part of the process and we're happy that he's here.
In the semis, Europe's best team, Spain, awaited. They had won 3 of the previous 4 European championships and were without a doubt the favorites. But the match wasn't even close. Slovenia ran away with it, winning by 20 points. This time around, Doncic had a great all-round performance and was just 2 assists away from a triple-double. Double NBA champion and Spain forward, Pau Gasol.
Very mature, knows the game, plays the game really well for his age or for any age for that matter. And obviously he has incredible room for improvement and growth. So he's a really good player already, and he has potential to become an even better player, more dominant with work and time.
Tu smo da proslavljamo, da se veselimo, da se radujemo v največjem možnem slogu.
And here we are, here to celebrate, here to enjoy. Slovenia won with style and got to the final in the best possible way, beating the defending champions and an unbelievable generation of Spanish players. We always believed we belonged among the best teams and that we could do it, but we never won a medal. Until now. It's coming home now to fill our empty trophy case.
Ki se bo zdaj zalesketala, ki bo prišla v domovino, v slovenske, za zdaj še prazne vitrine.
In the final against Serbia, Goran Dragic was the star with a true MVP performance, scoring 35 points. But Slovenia were without both of their star players in the last minutes. Dragic was totally drained, suffering from cramps, while Doncic sprained his ankle.
And now Doncic has gone down with an injury and he is in pain. And this doesn't look good.
But the reserve players showed up and Slovenia made history by winning gold.
Naslov evropskega prvaka je tukaj in tu smo, v raju smo, v košarkarskem raju. Somebody needs to carry Doncic out there so he can celebrate.
And that's just what they did.
See them carrying perhaps the future king of Slovenia, it seems like.
Dragic was named MVP, and along with Doncic, was part of the 5-player all-star team of the tournament. Doncic and Dragic, the Double D, led their team to Slovenia's biggest sporting success of all time. Now, with his mission accomplished, Luka Dončić, the double European champion, has set his sights on the States. Never has a Slovenian been selected so high in an American professional sports draft. Here's some advice from the guy who set the previous benchmark, Anže Kopitar.
Work hard, listen to your coach. I don't know, stay humble, and especially have fun, because the season is going to be long, and you don't know how everybody's going to react to it, but just play hard and have fun.
With the third pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Luka Dončić from Ljubljana, Slovenia, and Real Madrid.
Zmer sem hotel biti igralec NBA, tako da, ko sem slišal moje ime, sem sam brez besed, zelo srečen.
Doncic says that he has fulfilled another one of his life ambitions by becoming an NBA player this summer. That, though, is just the beginning. With new objectives and another target in his sights, it seems just a matter of time before Wonderboy becomes Wonder Man.
Luka Dončić becoming Wonderboy was written and produced by Franci Pavšer and myself, Luka Petrič, based on Franci's Slovenian documentary Luka Dončić na poti med zvezde. It was wonderfully narrated by Michael Manske. Katja Černela did an amazing job with the audio editing. Special thanks to Nina Smole and to FIBA Europe, the Euroleague, the ACB and the NBA. Luka Dončić becoming Wonderboy is a Radio Slovenija Val 202 production.